Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisum here. So glad to have you on the show today. Man, I love doing the Song Revolution podcast, getting to hang out with these amazing people, these artists and producers and industry people, songwriters, and I get blessed, man. I get inspired every single time. And I know that today's not going to be any different because I have one of my neatest, dearest new friends with me today, Bryant Urich. Hey, Bryant.
Hey, what's going on, John?
Yeah, man. You're always going on about something.
I try.
So Bryant and I have become friends just this year. Earlier this year, there's a coffee shop here in the Nashville area that we both were frequenting, and then we didn't know each other. But one day there's like this long bar of, chairs, tall stools.
It's like the stars aligned, and it was just a perfect day.
I know, and it was a beautiful day, but it's like this bar along these glass walls. So you're looking out the coffee shop, and I like to go over there and sit and do my work and stuff to get out of the office a little bit. And so one day I sat by this kid with some kind of ball cap on, and like literally we were about shoulder to shoulder. But
he's probably like 12 years old, maybe.
He looked
something like that.
He looked as so. We sat there for hours, and just never even really acknowledged each other, and you're really close. And I got home, and a little bit later on my Nashville Christian Songwriters Facebook page, there was a message from this guy, and he said, "Hey, my name is Bryant Urich, and I was sitting next to you all morning long, and I couldn't help but overhear that you have Nashville Christian Songwriters, and I'm a songwriter, and would you be interested in meeting with me?" And, first thing I thought was creeper.
Yeah, pretty sure that was your first response.
That was the first thing. Yeah, and you're still in my phone. We became friends, and I put your name in my phone, and it still says Bryant Creeper.
Yes.
But amazing. Bryant, so I thought anybody with that kind of chutzpah, it's like, I'm going to meet with them, right?
Right.
So we met the next day or two and started getting to know each other, and Bryant is a fantastic songwriter, building lots of relationships. Hadn't been here in Nashville that long, and we can get to that story in a minute.
Yeah,
but
just 2 years.
Just
came
2
on 2 years. Yep.
You and your lovely wife, Brooke, and building all kinds of relationships, already dealing with some pretty high-powered people here in town. And so anyway, we started talking, and it turns out that Bryant is a podcast producer, and we wound up striking up a business relationship, and he is the brains and the tech behind, and lots of concepts and ideas behind the Song Revolution podcast. And it was really kind of birthed in conversation. We started April 1, 22,000 downloads so far, and Bryant and I have become great friends. So
you were kind of a guinea pig for me. I was like, let's try this and see what happens.
At least I think we're friends. Are we friends?
Yeah. Well, I can tell my version of the story if you want, or I can save that for another time. But.
No, hey, share whatever you feel like, but you know what? I love you, man.
Right.
And so it's been a fun ride. And so, man, I just appreciate Bryant's talents, and he is a podcaster. We're going to give his information at the end of the show. If any of you are interested, if you need a podcast for your ministry or your business or whatever you're doing, if that's something you are interested in, we're going to give you some information at the end of the show. But we're gonna chat a little bit longer, and then we're going to get into some home demo talk, right?
Yeah.
So what's your version of this relationship? That's what I want to know.
Well, you were on the phone the whole time we were at the well, I'm pretty sure. So that's what I remember. And then I didn't have a chance to actually say hi because you're talking to so many people.
Are you saying
you're so popular?
A lot? Well, okay, yeah, I give you that. Popular.
No, I think you were on the phone and I had to leave, so that's why I emailed later. But I totally accept the creeper title, so I'll take that any day.
It's great. Well, hey, if you're the worst creeper that's ever creeped, then we're doing all right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your life and your background and kind of how you came into this whole thing and what got you to Nashville. And then we'll pick up with the gear talk.
Yeah, totally. Well, I was originally born in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. And that was in 1988. and we actually moved to Missouri in 2000. So my dad became a pastor, and he was in radio for a long time. So any like fake radio voice or anything that I can do comes from him.
Really?
Introing songs in the car while we're driving you to school or something stupid like that. But he was great. He was in the radio business for 20 years. So he did country radio, and then when he moved out of that, he went into ministry and was an associate pastor in Kansas. And that led us to Missouri for him to pastor a church in Missouri.
Sweet.
So right outside of Springfield, we moved there in 2000, our whole family, and just started the pastor's life, building a small church of 60, 70 people. And it was in the middle of nowhere, 30 minutes outside of Springfield. So it wasn't far from the city, but a town of 300 people, tiny, tiny place called Morrisville. And so, yeah, we started there, just all of us being involved in ministry, as a pastor's kid. It's like you just go to everything and you do everything and you serve and you just build the church however you can. And so we did that for, all through high school. I graduated in 2006 and had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And at that point, I was, I think I was leading worship, or I was playing guitar in the youth group at that point, which I've found so many people here that are involved in Christian music started playing in their youth group. That's so common,
It's true. And pardon me for interjecting here, but I know as a PK, you've been in rehab for a while.
Yeah. I just got out.
Just got out. Okay. So I know that's been, maybe we can talk about that on another show.
Yeah, totally. So. I went crazy like everyone thinks that you do. No.
A little PK humor there.
Yeah, right. Not really. If you're a PK, you know
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I got my start in music really from the youth group. I mean, I played guitar, in my bedroom. My dad showed me 3 chords on guitar when I was really young, G, C, and D. And that's all I knew for a long time, and didn't really take it super seriously until I was able to start learning some of these Hillsong songs and stuff that we were doing in youth group. And from there, got asked to play guitar. And then when our worship leader left, got asked to, hey, can you lead worship? And I'm like, I just play guitar. I don't sing other than in my bedroom, with my CD player. And a hairbrush. Yeah. And in the shower. I remember singing. You're a shining star. No matter who you are. No, it was Stephen Curtis Chapman for me.
Sorry.
It was Great era. Adventure, Dive.
This is the Great Adventure.
Oh man.
Cool.
He was my boy. But so I started leading in the youth group and did that for a long time, maybe a few years, graduated high school in the midst of that. And just started working a job, not really like knowing that music was even a possibility to do or to be. Just where I was, it wasn't the norm. The culture wasn't there to actually be like a professional musician or a songwriter or anything like that. So yeah, I got a sales job. I worked at AT&T, sold cell phones, and
sweet.
Yeah, right. It was the dream. I thought I was going to be a manager, and through that time, a random series of events. A local Christian college, the president of that college came to speak at our church on a Sunday. And for some reason in his sermon, it really spoke to me that, hey, maybe you should check this school out. Maybe you should go to college. And at the time, right out of high school, I did like a semester of community college and hated it and quit. So I wasn't going to go to college. It just wasn't for me. And, but in that moment I was like, well, I'll check it out, And so I don't even know who I told. I know my parents knew. I got some information from the school, but a couple approached me from our church, and actually, they just, I guess they heard about it from my parents or something and said, hey, we want to help you with your first semester of college.
Nice.
Before I had even decided I was going. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Sign from God.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to dive in. So it was amazing. They helped me with my first semester, and I dove in and literally went through the course catalog and went, okay, pastors, missions, you can choose what path you want to take. And then there was church music, and I was like, oh, well, I play guitar in church. I like music. I'll just do that. We'll see what happens. And so I did, and literally fell in love with music in college like that. It took everything that I had learned by ear and in my bedroom, and put the theory and the concepts and the history and everything behind it. And I just completely fell in love with it.
Nice.
I was, 20, maybe 22. at the time. I went to school in 2009 is when I started this college. And, I was driving around listening to like choral, like gospel choir music, and then like orchestral music, and like everything was, nothing was off the table. I was listening to everything and just soaking it all up and loving it.
Dude, I was an opera major and
were you really?
First time. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy?
That's like a vocal performance major?
Yeah.
Wow.
Singing like Italian and German.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Yes. We had to do a little bit of that.
Obviously, I'm not doing that today, I could demonstrate, but it would probably peg the meters on the. So I don't
wanted to turn the gain down a little bit on the microphone.
I've forgotten all the Italian, but
yeah,
that's cool though, man. So you found this love for music, and that wasn't that long ago because you're kind of young, but
yeah, I mean, well, now it's 8 years ago, I guess. So 2009 is when I started. I graduated school in 2012. So yeah, 5 years ago.
Sweet.
Been out of school for
5 years ago, man.
Yeah.
I was married 8 years by the time you were born.
Wow. You got married in 80?
Am I a father figure for you? What is this?
You're a mentor, man.
Am I? Okay.
You know what? Right before I met you, I actually told Brooke that I was like, man, this year, because it was the beginning of this year.
Yeah, it was.
And I was like, this year I really want to find some like mentor type, like
some older
people, not in just in age, not in, mental or not. You're still a kid. Basically.
I'm actually a young soul in an old body, but
you are. But I wanted to be around people that, have been through some stuff and can share some insight, and that's been awesome to have this relationship with you. So
cool. Well, I kind of totally like derailed your story, but I mean, you kind of fell in love with music kind of in a whole new way, and getting kind of filled up with it. Sounds like with all kinds of music. So it was all open.
Yeah. Yeah. At that time, I was playing in some bands with friends in college. And then I was also leading worship in our main service at church. So from the youth group, I graduated to leading in the main service. And when I graduated in 2012, there's actually a position available at our church where my dad was still the pastor, and the worship pastor left. And so I went on full time to do music at the church.
Nice.
So I did that for, full time I did it 3 years, but volunteer I did it for probably 6, 5.
Right.
And before that. And I was full time up until 2015, and we made the move to Nashville.
What brought that on, man? I mean, over 1,000 people a week move here. So
yeah, right.
You wanted to just come get down into the chaos.
Yeah. I wanted to dive right in. I've always thought that it'd be cool to be here. Obviously, as a musician, you see Nashville from far away, especially small town Missouri, and you're like, man, I just want to be around it. I want to be where the action is. And I had a brother. I still have a brother. He's still alive. Older brother that moved here when I was in high school, and he came to pursue the band thing and music. And so I really owe a lot of my journey in music to him, because I always looked up to him as a musician, and he played guitar and drums and, did everything. And I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And they actually moved back to Missouri a few years ago. And then, we made the jump to move here. So we kind of switched places a little bit, but at the same time, it was like, we always loved, every time we came to visit them in this area, we always loved it. We just never thought that it would be a reality that we would actually be here. And, the whole transition, I could spend an hour on that, but the bulk of it is we took 2 years of really praying and like seeking God and saying, what's next for us? From 2013 to 2015, we were like on our faces, just like, what's next? What do we know? There's something, we feel there's something, but what is it? And we were still on staff of the church at that point. And so, it all, God's timing, when we wanted to leave, it wasn't the right time. And we waited it out, and God worked everything together. And when we decided to make the move, he had put all the pieces together. So,
and that's my number one old soul mentor, old guy advice. It's like a lot of times just patience wins the day.
Yeah.
I have to tell myself that a lot, but So you
sure.
came here 2 years ago, and you've just been kind of figuring it out. But by the time I met you earlier this year, you already know a lot of great people.
Yeah.
Your Reverse podcast is up and running, in which we can talk about that in a little bit when we get to the whole podcasting thing.
Yeah.
But you are obviously very skilled musically. and I've heard your tracks, and I know that you've done. You work for TBN. You do some. We can talk about that. Some of the documentary stuff, and some of the segments that you do, the orchestral type beds of what you're doing. It's very cool. It's not just like total verse, chorus, blah, blah, blah stuff. I mean, you're really doing high end television stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so take us through a little bit, because you just came here green, and here you go. You're doing it. You've got a home studio that I'm sitting in today, which is great. And so tell us a little bit about that and about how some of that works.
Yeah. Well, the first year was literally just, I didn't have anything lined up. So I was just doing and trying anything and everything I could to just figure it out and to meet people. And in that time, you mentioned the podcast, a friend of mine and I started a podcast called the Reverse Podcast. And it was just an idea. It was like, hey, what if we sat down with creative people and just asked them what it means to be successful, hear about their life, hear their story. And so through that, we got connected with some really cool people. I mean, a few months of being here, I think we were sitting in Kevin Max's dining room, doing an interview with Kevin Max from DC Talk, who I'm like,
sweet.
Are you kidding me? Like, what is happening? What is this crazy place?
You watched him your whole childhood.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I could sing every word of those DC Talk songs. And I mean, it's guys from the Newsboys. We also interviewed some like Ben Rector's bandmates and just some guys that I really looked up to. And, it really, at the time it was inspiring. And now as I look back, I'm like, man, those were some great like connections that were made early on.
Absolutely.
That I wasn't even, we weren't prying for connections or friends or trying to get in, or it was really innocent in nature. It was like, we just want to learn and soak up. But it's really been a valuable resource to be around so many people and just really have something to offer them. Because
that's awesome.
I mean, you've experienced that. Yeah. With this show. I mean, when when you meet somebody and you have something to offer them and say like, hey, I don't just want to talk to you because you're amazing. I really want to like share your story and help you spread what you're doing, So that's been really cool. But the music side, I started producing probably about a year and a half ago with the TBN tracks, and through a random connection, met a guy that needed some audio work for a video he was doing, and it happened to be for TBN, and built a relationship there and have been doing tracks for them ever since. And it's more like scoring kind of instrumental tracks. And then that kind of led into some artist projects that I've been working on even the last few months. That have been really cool, really fun. So the producer role kind of came organically too, but I think that's come more from just spending the time learning the craft. Like I've spent hours down here, in studio, just tweaking things and seeing what works and seeing what sounds good. And that's really what it comes down to, is just doing the work,
Suiting up and showing up, right?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
Another one of those old manisms. It's like, I'm going to own this. I'm going to own the mentor thing one day.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
You're already there, man.
So organically, just through some relationship, what you're saying is random. We would call that, some people call it luck. We call it the luck of God. Or log, the luck of God.
Yeah.
It's like that serendipitous, providential thing where you felt compelled to come here.
Yeah.
Now probably everybody listening is going to want to come here, but don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to, but it's one of those things. It's like, maybe it's just for a season, but you've got to get around people that push you to be better, So whether that's people in your city, in your town, or if you need to get out and go to Nashville or LA or Austin or wherever,
Well, I mean, there is truth to the fact that this is a relational business, but every business is a relational business.
Yeah, totally,
right?
Totally.
I mean, if you're a roofer and you go to the local chamber of commerce and hang out at business meetings, or, if you own a roofing company and you want to meet people in a commercial industry who might someday need your business, well, you go and you hang out where somebody might be that does that. So there's truth to that. But if you don't have the goods, if you don't know how to put shingles on a roof and you cause leaks, well, you're never going to get the chance to do that again, right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's kind of the same in this music thing. You came down, you felt compelled, didn't know what it was going to be, organically met people, but you've shown up and you've got the goods. You prepared. And that's just a huge thing for me. People don't show up blind and ignorant and they don't know what they're doing,
Yeah, right.
thinking it's going to all drop out of the sky, right?
Yeah. Well, and you and I have talked about this a lot. It's like everybody expects someone else to make the way for them.
Yeah.
And it's like you think in moving to Nashville, you're like, oh, I'll meet the right person and they'll take me where I need to go. When it doesn't really work that way. And people can sense that right off the bat. You know, you meet somebody and that you know that they're wanting to ride your coattails and figure out, not that I'm in that case, but like, I know I have been that guy before and I've realized that. And now looking back, I'm like, there are times where I wish I wouldn't have done that. But there are also lessons learned from that where you go, you know what? It's up to me. It's not up to anyone else. My success or my journey is all on my shoulders.
And you're a go-getter. You're aggressive in all the right ways. And that's what I love about you. You're a man of your word. I know that, barring some kind of weird, freaky thing that happens, you're going to always be on time. You're going to always do what you say. You're going to upload the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool. And there's such a trust there. And like in any business, people are looking for someone that's trustworthy. And the whole character thing is just so key. And as a younger person starting out here, that's going to win for you over and over and over again. And you've got the talent, you've got the goods, but you're not burning people up along the way. You're not chewing through people and spitting them out and not a bunch of dead bodies that I know of. And if I find them, I'm going to call you out, man.
Yeah.
You're dead.
I mean, I showed you the garage and it was empty. So
no, there were just a couple of washing machines and dryers and just kind of dungeon-like in there. But
Wow. Thanks. Painting a great picture of my house right now.
It's great. No, it's great, man. It's absolutely great. So, so let's kind of shift over into the gear thing because the way things have gone tech-wise, a lot of us older people know I happen to be very adaptive. And so when the first Macintosh 484s or whatever they were back in the day, that people make fish bowls out of now.
Yeah,
and we had
the colored ones, like the back.
Yeah, no, I had the ones before that.
Okay,
I had the
gotcha.
ones that were like hospital beige,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And they were plastic, but we had to have floppy disk because there was absolutely no memory storage on them whatsoever, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so we did a little floppy thing, but the company that I worked with, it was a Gaither-owned company. Bill Gaither owned this company called Star Song Media, and we were doing artists like Whiteheart, Petra, Newsboys, Twyla Paris, Gaither Vocal Band, and that ilk, right?
Yeah.
But the people that led that company, Janet Harris, I'll just go ahead and say it, her husband is one of the greatest A&R directors of the whole Christian industry thing, a great pioneer, a dear friend. But Janet was so innovative that when the companies Star Song and Arios Music that I worked for with the Gaithers, VP of Publishing, when they merged the companies, Janet insisted that every employee get a Mac, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking 25 years ago, and all of you young people. You take for granted the technology that's right there in your hand. We didn't have that. We had to walk uphill in the snow every day to school, even in the summer. And then going home, we had to walk uphill in the snow.
In the rain.
And the rain and the desert sands that were burning us. So we had a hard, you guys, just don't even know what you had, what you've got. But anyway, so I go back that far with technology. So I've adapted all along the way. But some people have trouble doing that. And we can't really address that too deeply today, but things are just done differently today.
Yeah.
And I remember, okay, let me digress one more moment into back in the day when we were one street over from world famous Music Row. We were on 18th Avenue. Music Row here in Nashville is like 16th and 17th. And we were over on 18th. So I was one block off. We had this kind of Victorian house that we remodeled for the publishing company, and it later became Star Song.
Wow.
And dude, you won't believe this. Have you ever even seen 2-inch recording tape?
Not in person.
Okay.
But
well, I used to be the dog on that stuff. When we would do a demo, even it was like prehistoric or something, but we were running around with loincloths and dinosaur bones and
spears,
rattling them together to make, percussion. But I used to mix down to 2-inch tape, and
Wow.
it looked more like 4 inches wide. It was really, really thick. And when we edited, you're going to laugh at this. Okay, so it was the size of your washing machine out in the garage. Okay,
Right.
it was that big, right? With the 2-inch reels on the top.
Wow.
You know what a reel to reel is, right?
Yeah.
Right. So just imagine that, listeners, if you have never actually seen one. But so when it came time for an edit, like if somebody really screwed up on a take or we just wanted to edit a section out. Okay, so I would loosen the tape. Are you imagining this?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would, with my fingers, okay, I would pick up the tape, lay it in this metal tray with this diagonal slot in it. You with me? I mean, this is like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Get what do they call those laundry pen markers?
Okay.
And mark. Well, first of all, I would kind of go.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Found it.
I would like find the edit point, and then I would take the tape out, lay it in that metal tray with the diagonal groove in it, get a razor blade, and cut it. Now, wait a minute. I left something out. I had to do that twice because I had to find and mark the first edit point and then roll the tape. I won't imitate it again. all the way to where I had to find the next edit point.
Wow.
And then do the same thing and then tape it together with like a little bit of masking tape.
That's insane.
That's how we did it.
Wow.
And now you guys, you punch buttons
Got
on
it easy.
You got it easy, man.
Yeah.
So-
well, my dad talked about that in radio because he used to have to chop tape, for commercials and stuff.
Right.
Like, and they would run a tape machine
thing, yeah.
for the radio station. Yeah.
Same thing. So that's the way we did it in the good old days.
Oh, man.
And we made better music, but
Totally.
Totally. Hey, so
you did.
It was analog. It was totally analog. Okay. So with that as kind of a ridiculous backdrop,
No.
Talk a little bit about what you look for in, or how you would even think about configuring a home demo setup and kind of what's involved and kind of the broad scope of how that goes about.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back first to my perception before moving to Nashville, because I think the perception for most people that aren't around this all the time is that you have to invest tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars into gear to have your own recording studio, have racks on racks of outboard gear and a console and super high-end mics and, either analog gear or a digital converter interface type of scenario, which is just not true anymore. I mean, and part of that, I think the maybe the art is lost just a little bit, in that analog space of like just using the gear that actually manipulates the sound instead of just it all being on a computer and it being ones and zeros and digital. But that's a whole different conversation.
And
I
still don't get that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, essentially like there's a big debate of analog versus digital, and anymore it's like, you don't need thousands of dollars worth of gear to make a good quality home demo. And I can probably repeat that for people. You don't need thousands of dollars of gear to make a good quality demo. It's really more about your ear than it is anything else. And if you have the ear for recording, if you have the ear to even know what you like and know what you're going for as a demo or as a songwriter, that's going to take you way further than investing $5,000 in studio gear, which might get you like 2 pieces of really nice gear, So like anymore, essentially what most people have, and I've even seen people for, church recordings there was a video out, the new Adele single, the Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. There was a guy in Logic Pro using samples from Logic with a little like Apollo Twin interface. And he's tracking Adele's record that has sold millions of copies. And, that's on a laptop and a little interface. So technology has made it so convenient now. And so the quality standard is so much higher than it used to be, because you used to not be able to get that type of sound with minimal gear. You used to have to invest a lot. So there are pros and cons for all of it. Now music making is much more available. So there's a lot more music being made all the time. And maybe the quality is not, as high. The standard has been dropped a little bit on what's acceptable. Again, that's a whole different debate. But to get a home demo, like for instance, we did the retreat last weekend. By the time people hear this, I don't know when it'll be, but we did the songwriters retreat with NCS.
Right.
And, I had this Apollo Twin, this little interface that I can plug 2 mics into, and a MIDI keyboard for our piano sounds where David Baroni played piano. And I had a guitar, and I had a $200 vocal mic. And, we were able to make some really good quality demos right there in this house. And, when you focus on the ear and like really training yourself to be able to hear and even visualize what you want the song to sound like or what you want the recording to sound like, and listening to other things to really study that and train your ear essentially, then you can figure out the technical. The technical is all, you can watch YouTube videos for days to figure out how to EQ something. But if you don't have the ear to know, oh, that's it, like that sounds good, that's where I want it to be, then you really need to work on training your ear more than you need to invest in a bunch of high quality stuff. So I mean, that may have been a rant a little bit, but the home demo thing is totally achievable. We can all be making good high quality demos with just a little bit of training and a little bit of gear, and that's 2017.
Wow. So it really boils down to maybe starting with something like GarageBand. I mean, not even going all the way up to, GarageBand, would you say it's kind of like it's not the Corolla, it's more like the Camry of recording, right? And then Logic Pro would be like the Lexus or the Acura. What comes after it's Corolla, Camry, and then whatever the next one is.
Toyotas, right? I don't know. Right? Toyotas, Avalon, maybe.
Avalon, yeah. Cool. Well,
maybe Toyota's a bad example. But GarageBand is essentially, we'll just say the younger stepchild of Logic Pro.
Yeah, and it just comes on a new Mac. Or even older Macs.
It's suited for beginners.
For years.
Yeah, you get it with your computer, so you can jump in and do stuff. It shows you how to do it. It's easy. It's all right there. It's not overcomplicated.
Right. It's pretty intuitive if you have any kind of aptitude at all for learning software.
Sure.
Right. And so the concept is that you open up a file, you open up a new file, and you have all these choices. And the way GarageBand is configured, you can actually choose from songwriter. They have all these things, these templates basically kind of pre-configured, or I always just do empty because I know what it is I want to start with. And the truth is, I'm just tech enough to be dangerous with some of that. And so some of the worst times I've had in my whole songwriting career is when I was trying to be more techie than I am and overproduce something, because GarageBand has these, I forget what the template's called, but it's like, it's got a whole band kind of there, but you got to tell the drummer what to do.
Sure.
And you got to, have a MIDI keyboard of some kind where you can plunk out the bass notes or whatever, right? Or play your chords, or have an interface like you're talking about where you can plug in your acoustic guitar, right? Or your electric guitar or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But for me, that just complicates things. So how can we declutter our minds on just getting to that point of getting a decent guitar, or what we call a guitar vocal or a piano vocal or keyboard vocal, where the track basically has 2 tracks. Have I lost you? You with me?
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. where there's like, you sit down and you do a keyboard pass.
Yeah.
And then you sing over that. So that would be like what we would call a piano vocal, right?
Yep.
So you need GarageBand, and you need a little bit of learning curve on that to figure some of the inputs, and maybe that's where we should start. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's break this down really simple, and then come back to this part, because I'm trying to give these people value and kind of help them understand, okay, this is the basic stuff, right? So you got your computer of some type. I don't know if GarageBand works on PCs.
Yeah. So the equivalent would be like a Cubase or Studio One.
Oh yeah.
That would work on a PC versus a Mac. So you can totally use a PC The Mac just comes with some stuff preloaded. That's kind of
Right.
nice. But
And so then you need some kind of digital interface from
Right.
a keyboard or from some kind of little box, little MIDI box of some type.
yeah. Basically a USB audio interface.
Audio,
So,
yes, right.
Yeah, that way you can run an instrument in, you can run a microphone in, and you can record from that interface via USB.
And then just some kind of mic
Yeah.
to sing on. And
Yeah.
so that's pretty much it. So it's not a huge investment like you were saying, but then
No.
you've got to figure out, okay, what is the level of my playing ability,
Mhm.
right? Because like I was just saying, some of the times I've gotten just lost in a demo is when I was trying to do a full-blown production when I really didn't need it. I mean, for me as a publisher and a song coach, I'm always just looking for what are the words and what's the melody? And then kind of how do you imagine the chords working under that?
Sure.
And the feel, the tempo, the style, and all that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes writers make a big mistake when they try to trick out a demo, and often it's wrong. It just doesn't even represent, right?
Yeah.
So
You're better off partnering with someone that has a little bit more, production skills or mindset. Because I think as a writer, if you're a great songwriter, and you're not an artist, typically what I see is artists that are writing their own songs are pretty involved in the production side of things. They're pretty involved in like either demoing at home or they're recording in the studio, and they know what they want. They know they're figuring out how to get it, but they hire a producer who is obviously way more versed in that kind of stuff.
Like you.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
know it all.
getting there. I don't know it all. But
Oh, well, you know a lot.
I mean, that's the thing. Like I've had some artists come in. This last artist, she sent me a clip of her on her iPhone of her beating the drum beat on a table and singing the song. So there were no
Sweet.
instruments at all.
Right.
It was just this beat. She had this idea for beat, idea for song. And so I took that and just brought it to life, put keys and guitars and sounds and drums and everything. And she loved it. It was super cool. It connected. She came and sang over the top of it. And that's the beautiful like artist producer relationship, But as an artist, how much more does it benefit you to be able to get at least a close, good quality demo, especially if you're pitching songs? I mean, the pitching world better than I do, but if you're a songwriter that you're just recording iPhone demos with a guitar that's out of tune, and it could be a great song, but it's probably, I don't know, 80-20 maybe of presentation versus song at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you can get away with that if you're Lady Gaga or somebody,
exactly.
right? If you're
Yeah.
established and you're sending your tunes to somebody who knows you and loves you, and you've had a string of hits, or you're an artist with a lot of cred. Well, then okay, you can do stuff like that, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I totally hear it. That's so cool," But but if not, if you're like the regular Joes like us out here trying to scrap this thing out, you have to be a little smarter when it comes to actually pitching your demos. And so, but what I'm kind of talking about in this show with you is more like the work tape, kind of like, okay, the basic. I've got just enough of gear, to get it down. I think I've got something really cool, or I'm just working on it and I want to hear what it would sound like, recorded, and I can sing it, or get my neighbor to come sing it because she's got a good alto voice or something. But that's kind of where I think we are in this discussion, and then it kind of amps up from there, right?
Yeah. I think the only pushback to that is I've heard guys in town that are like, there are no more demos. Like, we shouldn't be making demos because you should be your work tape or your demo of the song that you're writing. You should be putting, I feel like there's a thing, and when you say it's a demo, it kind of leaves space for like it not being the best. Does that make sense?
It does. And and that's a great distinction, because I think we start with work tapes.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Even if that's on our iPhone.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I consider turning on my voice recorder app, Evernote or whatever it is, and plunking out my song on the piano or the guitar and singing along. That would be considered a work tape.
Yeah, totally.
Even though it's ones and zeros, it's not really tape, right?
Right.
So then the next step up from that would be more of the official demo.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
And so if what you're describing is totally 100% true, that if you're pitching to, unless it's somebody you totally know and they trust you, then you really do need to take it up into a more excellent representation, right? So I think that's what you're talking about.
And that doesn't mean like full band, full production. That just means if you're going to do an acoustic guitar in your vocal, you want it to sound as pro as possible, right? So getting those essential tools of an audio interface and a decent mic, it doesn't have to be a $500 mic. It can be $100, it can be $200. Just in figuring out how to get those sounds, whether it's watching YouTube videos or calling someone that has more experience than you and chatting with them and getting some insight. But you can make that guitar and vocal sound great, and somebody hears it and goes, oh, wow, that song's really coming to life, just because you've put a little bit of effort and time into making a good quality demo.
Yeah. And I think I have a little bit of a bias too, because I've been on the high end publishing side of things, for so long that I trained myself to hear the diamond in the rough. And there are many songs, I could point to dozens of songs that probably other publishers would have passed on.
Yeah.
But because I valued so much the core message, or just the hook was so stunning, and even if we went back and reworked the tune or something, I saw something in there. Now, I've had LA producers that were working for Integrity back in the day when I was over all the songwriters there. They would say, why are you working with these people? Why aren't you with professionals? And I'm like, you know what? These are the people God brought, and these are professionals. And I help them, and I'm thinking of even some of my current clients that we're working with at Nashville Christian Songwriters right now. When they, like, I'm thinking of one person in particular, I won't say their name, but, precious, awesome people. And then this particular person, I'm trying to think how to say this.
Yeah.
They bring a song and it's pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
But because then when I give them affirmation, okay, I hear what this could be, then they go spend a little bit of money. Maybe it's $200 or $300 because, excuse me, even though they're fine musicians themselves, they don't have the voice.
Yeah.
Or they don't have the production skills to go do it, but then they hand it to the next guy. And several times this particular writer has come back to me with these professionally produced demos that are rock solid.
That could be on the radio.
They could be on the radio now, immediately, right? And
which takes that demo perspective out. It's like, that song is that's a great song.
Exactly.
And because you can pitch it to whoever.
It represents it like it really could be on that high level for not even a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
So start with your work tapes. If you get frustrated, then save up a little recording budget and get somebody who knows how to do it. If you're not a great singer, if you're not a great player, don't let yourself be hindered, but go find some Coke cans and redeem them and set up a little fund, right?
There you go.
Go drive Uber or do something and start a little recording fund so that you can do that after you've invested in a little bit of gear and all that. So do you think we've talked enough about the gear side of things? Have we derailed too much into the aesthetics of...
No, I think all of that is good information to know, because the more you know about the gear that's involved and the more you research that, and you don't have to go crazy. It's a hobby for me, so I like it. I like learning about it and collecting. But you had even mentioned doing maybe a masterclass video type of thing at some point, which I think having hands-on, people seeing the process would actually. Oh yeah,
you mean for
help.
us here at NCS?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's so in the works. We're going to get that done. So this was kind of the teaser for that, really.
Yeah.
It's okay, so podcast number 1, just introducing the subject.
Yeah.
And then we're going to schedule with Bryant. We're going to do a master class and actually demonstrate some of the stuff and figure out how to do that, because it's a serious topic for people that are trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
I want to go back to one thing you just said, so you have your work tape and then you have the demo, phase. If you can figure that out and kind of bring yourself to that level, if you really can hear it, if you really can overcome the learning curve and get GarageBand kind of under your fingers and all that kind of stuff and play at a level that you're happy, or sing at a level, or figure that out, that's great. But if I were pitching a song to some huge pop even Christian artists like Mandisa. Let's just pick on Mandisa. I love Mandisa. I love her work, but or Natalie Grant, or name somebody, that's kind of that ilk, right?
Yeah.
Where it's pop driven. It's got a lot of ear candy. A lot of it really does depend on the rhythmic bed, if you will, right?
Yeah.
The sequence, all that kind of stuff. And what if I can't do that,
Right.
Then what?
Yeah. Oh, like me?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. What do we do?
What's the answer, Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to that, discussion of the level of pitching, like if we're pitching to Mandisa, we're going to trick it out.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
I mean, if we spend $1,000 on it.
Yeah.
Right.
It depends on what the goal is, for sure. I mean, if it's for you, if you're writing a song for you to take to the world, that's something different, because you have the vision for it. If you're trying to pitch a song to someone else's vision, essentially, then you've got to go in their flow. You've got to find a producer that can model that and take the song where you want it to go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wouldn't pigeonhole a song to just be like one artist necessarily. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying in general, like maybe think a little more broad with the song and produce it in a way that has a little bit of your flair, but could also work. And that's just being a student of what's working right now. What's out there.
So studying the genre.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I also know that here in Nashville, you're the closest thing to a track guy, that I know. But so the new normal here is that if you're writing, you might be in a co-write with another person, but it's becoming pretty standard to have a track guy in the room who's kind of like laying down the beats and talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, I think we even on the John Mays episode, he even talked a little bit about this too at Centricity. Like especially in the modern pop world, I mean, the programming and the sounds and everything that goes into the song is such a big part that a lot of times that influences the writing process, just like the lyrics would influence the producing side, so that. See, you already got me going. I got a song idea already. But yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
Well, no, think of like if you're writing and you're getting to hear it in real time.
Yeah.
As it's being hashed out and you're coming up with these ideas. I mean, that'd be inspiring,
Yeah, sure.
And to kind of get those sounds working early. And then you walk out of the session with a demo. You've already got a start to where your song's going to go. That's really cool. I mean, I think a part of me wonders if that comes from just the speedy nature of how fast everything is now.
Oh man.
Like everybody's just wanting to crank out songs
condensed,
as fast
really
as
is.
possible.
Yeah.
Technology's made it easy to do that. But it's also, I think, for the inspiration side too.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, if you're serious about this thing, then these are the kinds of things you start figuring out. Right. I mean, I'm old school in a lot of ways because Gaither would always say, who's going to care about this song 100 years from now? And that just stuck with me. And so I've sought throughout my career to not only write classic songs that somebody's going to give a flip about, after I'm standing in front of Jesus, but to help the writers I work with. That's part of my mandate at Nashville Christian Songwriters, is to help people write songs that somebody's going to care about.
Yeah.
It's going to be more than the beat. I love the beat,
Yeah.
I like to move and move it. I mean, I totally love it. I love the beat, right?
Yeah.
But it really comes down to content for me over and over and over again, no matter the style, no matter the genre. But so these techie kinds of things, they're a support to the meat of your message.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
I mean, so that, and I think people have to learn that over and over again, who become enamored with the tech. And so I think that's the other side of it. You got to be careful not to just burn yourself out and spend all your creativity on the tech instead of on your
money.
And your money.
Yes, it's expensive.
Right. I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone was going to pay for a demo, what's the max you think they ought to pay?
Wow. That's a great question.
I'm talking about kind of maybe not at the Mandisa level,
Yeah.
just, with tricked out, but
yeah. I mean, I would say It depends again if you're talking more of a pop style like programmed song that's more electronic, that's usually a little less costly, I guess, because that's more like single producer can do that on their computer, you know.
Costly?
Is that a word? I just made it up. I was kind of swimming that around a little bit. Let's say costly. How about costly?
There you go.
There it is. I said costly.
I love it.
Oh man,
I love it. We needed a break.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that the general price, I mean, I'd say anywhere from like $1,000 maybe.
Really?
I mean, if you're going full on with like a band and players, and it depends again at what level. If you find a producer, I mean, like for me, I'm not necessarily at like any certain level, you know, I'm just kind of getting started. So I'm taking on projects for less than that, but it just depends on, you know, what level the producer's at and what their time's worth really.
Right.
You know?
Oh, you're worth a lot more than $1,000.
Well, I mean, yeah, it just depends. It really, I've heard it. I'm probably not the best guy to ask because I'm kind of new to this whole scenario. I had a friend who wants to do an artist thing, had coffee with a producer guy, and he's like done work for Holland and Centricity, and I don't know who it was, but he quoted the guy like $7,000 for a song.
Oh my God.
And that's not a demo. I mean, that's like a finished song. And most of the time that's how a producer would operate. They're like, I'm not just going to do a demo. We'll do like a full song.
That's a master.
But
that's
$7,000. I mean,
wow.
If you're a record label, that's one thing, but like for a 19-year-old kid who wants to do a song.
Right. So okay, well, let's boil it down to where, you know, I mean, let's say for $500, you could probably get a pretty decent demonstration recording of what you've got.
Totally.
And then start there. And if people are starting to respond and it's like, okay, Mandisa's got to hear this, but we got to trick it out. Well, then you make that call from then on.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. Especially if you're just wanting like a simple representation of the song, you know, piano vocal or piano and guitar or something like that would be way cheaper than a full production.
Yeah. Just a couple $100 and you could get a good piano vocal or guitar vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Yeah, because we just scared a bunch of people.
Yeah. I'm thinking more of like production, you know, $1,000 would be for a song, like for a song you're going to release, not just a demo. But.
I heard gasps all over the country when you said $7,000, even $1,000. So
yeah, totally.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, we were going to do some demos with one of our songwriters and wound up walking him through the whole production thing. But when we started with 1,500 for his demos, but we had serious plans to pitch them, you know, and to companies. And
they were great producers too. They were established guys.
High-end guys. Yeah. So there's a range there so dear listener, get up off the floor. You can breathe now. It's okay. So, cool. Man. Well, I think this has been very informative, and if not, it's been fun.
Yeah.
So, basically get the basic gear, kind of get started, do some tutorials, reach out for some help. And then once you've got songs that are worth spending even more money on, then kind of walk up that path, that ladder, if you will, depending on where it's all going to go.
Yeah.
So,
find things like NCS to boost that, because if I would have had this podcast 2 years ago, I would have been eating up every episode, you know, because there wasn't anything like this when I was pursuing, you know, learning about the music industry and stuff. So these resources are gold.
Thanks, buddy. I did not pay him any extra to say that, but
well, you didn't see it, but you slipped me a 20 right before that.
I've been known to grease a palm or two along the way. But no, seriously. I'm proud of the podcast, and I think this is like 36, 37 episodes, which is like about almost 40 hours of inspiration and information and teaching and cool people. So including you, Bryant, and we wouldn't have a podcast, at least not as it exists now, without us rubbing shoulders, sitting cheek to cheek practically at the coffee house for those hours, and you reaching out, man. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
so
no problem.
Let's talk a little bit, just for a couple minutes, because we need to go ahead and wrap up. I don't even know how long we've been talking, but it's been fun. So you have the Reverse podcast, which is, and I was a guest on that, and which was fun. and it's just a great show. You've had Cody Carnes on recently, Jeremy Claudio, songwriter, producer, Top Liner. Is that something that goes on a truck?
So that's like a writer that specializes in like lyrics and melody, like that top line of the song. So it's kind of
I've never heard that.
Little Nashville lingo.
Oh, see, I thought it was like that thing that goes on top of your truck, but
Like it might be that too. Bed liner.
Oh, that's a bed liner. Yeah. So you've had Jeff Duncan, Casey Moore, Chad Carruthers. I'm just kind of looking back through. You've had, I know Jeremy Mayfield, who's just a crazy good guy.
Yeah, he's
Love
awesome.
him. I know that you also had Matt Braunlouis, who is awesome, crazy awesome songwriter, and just a bunch of people. You had Jonathan Cain before I had Jonathan Cain.
We did, yeah.
So that's awesome. So the Reverse Podcast, reversepodcast.com. And so now, along with your production, songwriting, you're at one of the hottest churches in Nashville. Is it called The Belonging?
It's called The Belonging Co. Yeah.
What's a co?
It's like company, belonging company. Like if you look up the definition to company, it's one of the coolest, like
a co.
Yeah, a co.
Like a co-op or
like a co.
Okay. So you're at The Belonging Co., which is that CEAUX?
C-E.
No.
That'd
be the French.
That would be French. Pardon your French. It's actually co.
I am at the Belonging Co.
Yeah.
So but it is really one of the hottest, coolest production oriented churches. And you're right up there on stage, jumping around and doing your electric guitar thing. Right.
Yeah,
so that's fun. So, but on top of all that, you're now in a whole new deal where you are beginning to work with people who want to do podcasts. So tell us really quickly about that, because obviously you're great, and that's why Song Revolution Podcast is so great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I've been working with, since we started this show. Really, it kind of sparked, hey, I should do this for other people, and so I've taken on a few clients just this year, and in 2018, I'm planning on to take on a lot more. So, whether it's a business that needs a podcast or a personal thing where you feel like you have a message you want to share, I feel like anybody that has a message worth sharing they should use their own voice to share it, and a podcast is a great way to do that. But, I'm really passionate about that. I don't know. I've been in the podcasting realm for the last couple, like 3 years, maybe, just really diving in and getting into production and studying the market and all that. And, so it's just strategizing, consulting, helping people figure it out and producing it, done for you kind of style, where they can send me the audio and it's just done and posted and ready to go. So it's kind of all taking shape. It's not really, I can't direct you to a website or anything, but I do everything through my personal Facebook page. So,
okay. So they need to go to Bryant Urich.
Yeah, it'd just be facebook.com/Bryant Urich.
And it's URICH, like you rich.
Yeah, like you rich.
Right.
Which is prophetic.
It is.
Someday
it
I'll
is.
be rich.
Siri says your name funny when I tell her to call it.
I bet.
Yeah, I can't even imitate it because I have the Australian Siri on there. So she butchers your name every time.
Most people do.
So yeah. Well, dude, this has been great. So if you're out there listening and you even remotely think you need a podcast, call up my bro here. Look him up on Facebook. Just crazy. Call me, email me if you can't find him, because I really want to connect you with this guy. Young, talented, good looking, amazing, just so awesome in every way. So this has been fun. And this is a teaser for the masterclass webinar thing we're going to do soon. Be watching NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com for that announcement. If you're not already part of our Facebook group, Successful Christian Songwriters, we have 4,500 rabid Christian songwriters from all over the world. It's a great community. It's a great place to get started. Thank you for tuning in today to the Song Revolution podcast, and just for letting us come into your lives. Our mission at Nashville Christian Songwriters is to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. Check out NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, especially NCS membership, where you can take a deep dive into fulfilling your call to write for Jesus. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey, thanks for listening to the show today. I'm blown away with the encouragement and inspiration that every guest brings, and today was certainly no different. If you want even more encouragement and inspiration to take your songwriting to the next level, be sure to check out NCS membership over on our site at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We're all about empowering you to become the best Christian songwriter that you can be, and NCS membership is simply the fastest and easiest way to get there. Become the songwriter that you were born to be by joining NCS membership today. I'll see you next time on the Song Revolution podcast.